It's now time for the Advanced Medical Solutions Show. Here's Dr. Dwyer Scott.
How are you feeling, Fulton?
Dr. Scott, I feel great today. How do you feel?
Well, I got a fever, got a little cough. I've lost my sense of smell and taste, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah? Well,
Just kidding.
Hey, wait a minute, Doc. We got the new test for you, too. You just got to bend over.
All right, Rick. Anyway, I don't mean to make light of it. I don't mean to make light of a serious subject.
No, that's actually in China. That's the new test.
I know, Rick Roberts. Thank you very much.
We need a button.
I don't mean to take lightly the symptoms that some people have and joke around. We're ignoring what you said, Rick.
Yeah. Okay. We need a button in here so we can. Rick's in the sound room and we can't silence him. Okay, he can silence us, but we can't silence him.
Wait a minute, Fulton. Did you say button?
Whatever you want to call it, slide, button.
A slide. All right. Anyway, overall, I was just joking. I feel great. Feeling good. Keeping the immune system strong. Done some vitamin infusions.
Yes.
I think it's about time for you to get one.
Yes.
We're doing some heavy vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, really customized to the person and where they're at. So, yeah.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. My wife and I, we just upped our dose of vitamin D. We are loading up with vitamin D. It seems the people who take these precautions of vitamin D, zinc, keeping their immunity up, staying healthy, doing exercising, doing the right things.
That's right.
They have less problems. Their post-COVID recovery seems to be shorter and less long-term effects.
That's right. A lot of those people don't even get it. You know?
Agreed.
A lot of those people, I haven't tested positive yet, thank God. And ultimately, I do those things. And then you're right. If someone does contract it, then they're going to get over it faster. Or even barely even know they had it. It'll seem like a common cold.
You know, I'm in full agreement with what you say there. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on right now. As an individual, you know, if everybody would do the right thing for themselves, they'd do the right thing for everybody else. And we could get through this possibly at a little quicker rate. You know, do I think anybody's out there trying to spread this virus, this disease to somebody intentionally? You know, I sure hope not. And if they are, you know, that's unfortunate, and they'll have to deal with those repercussions themselves later. But to right now take an opportunity to protect ourselves, do the things that are going to help us protect ourselves. And, you know, this is the philosophy, this is the mentality. You and I, we practice every day in our life. We try to explain to patients, employees, okay, this is the approach. You know, that's what brings us together. You and I are like-minded in this.
Here's what we should do in COVID times. You know what we should do in COVID times?
Tell me.
The same thing we should be doing in non-COVID times. It's not rocket science, okay?
That's true.
Same thing.
That is true.
And I don't think anybody's out there intentionally spread it. I mean, you got these ideas of biological warfare and, you know, it coming out of China. I don't know who will ever know. But here's what I do know. You know what the worst parasite is?
Which one?
You know what's worse than the bacteria parasite? You know what's more infectious than a bacteria and even this COVID?
What's that?
An idea.
Oh.
An idea. Especially an idea that's fear-based. That's more parasitic, more infectious. And I'll tell you what, I don't think anybody, at least on an individual basis, is out there intentionally spreading any infections and diseases. But I do believe there are people and groups of people spreading ideas that are lies, fear-based, and messing up a lot of people's lives. And we could start in the political world and in the COVID world. We could keep going down to the pain medications, the pharmaceutical industries. We can go straight on to the surgeons who are right here in our local town recommending surgery, cutting people's legs off and replacing them.
Yes.
Claiming someone has bone-on-bone arthritis, degenerative, there's no other options, and it's not true. So there are people spreading ideas that are more dangerous, more parasitic, more destructive than COVID is.
You know, that my thought just before you went into discussing that and making that point was the exact same thing. You know, we've got to get the kids back in school. We've got to get the economy going. When you look at the COVID rate for the children in school versus the suicide rate, it's alarming. it is alarming what is going on with the mental health with the kids of today because of COVID in the past 12 months. And the kids who are getting left so far behind because there is no interaction on their school.
That's right.
This Zoom school is not working for them. They don't have the infrastructure at home that requires that kid to meet those to meet those needs. So that's a very unfortunate part of what's going on. So as you say, a mental concept, fear mongering. There are so many branches attached to this COVID virus and going forward. Look at all the discussion, look at all the challenges, the fear theory, as you say, people are putting out there about the vaccine. We don't know. It hasn't been tested. We haven't had time. Are you going, for them to have a question, are you going to take the vaccine or not? That right there is the beginning of that mental distortion of fear-mongering, idea-creating, as you say.
It's nothing new in the medical world. It's been going on for over 100 years with the people who actually started,
exact
the
same
mass
thing.
Promoting of medicine and medication,
Yes.
direct-to-consumer medication. These same tactics and maneuvers and marketing schemes have been done for over 100 years, and they've been done very successfully as far as the business goes and making money and profiting. It's been very unfortunate for the health of this country. We are one of the least healthy countries in the world, first world countries. The worst.
That's crazy.
We spend all the money. We have all the doctors, all the scientists, all the researchers, all the pharmaceuticals, the drugs. We're the sickest country in the world.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So this is nothing new. And I'll tell you, when I think about it, regular vaccinations and immunizations started in early probably 1900s, mid 1900s, and we're paying a price for some of those interventions and some of those preservatives and different things in those vaccines and adverse reactions. We call them the diseases of the 21st century, which are really neurological conditions, autoimmune conditions, and inflammatory conditions.
Yes.
Okay. Along with the other toxins and things that have been introduced to our life, including unnecessary medications. So that with those vaccines is coming here and created these cellular, inflammatory, autoimmune conditions, neurological conditions. Okay. Now we have a new vaccine that targets the genetics. It's targeting your genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Now watch. This is just me thinking because I know the future of medicine is gene re-engineering and gene engineering. My imagination, I definitely wouldn't consider it a conspiracy theory because, quite frankly, I don't think about it that much, nor do I care. But think about it. This vaccine is going and targeting your genome, your genetics, mRNA, the first vaccine they've done before. So what's going to happen when that gets in there? Who knows what kind of destruction or alterations genetically it's going to do to you, any of your offspring, etc. Anybody, who knows? Then imagine, okay, now humanity over the next 5 to 20 years starts developing genetic conditions that we've never seen before.
Resistance to it.
What?
Everything.
No, hold on. Stay with me.
Okay.
No, stay with me. We're using a vaccine to target genetics. Okay, now the next 5 to 20 years, we start having these new, instead of diseases of the 21st century, it's the next century, okay? These new diseases that are actually genetic conditions, where could they be coming from? Possibly these new genetic or mRNA-focused vaccines. Now, take a wild guess, who's going to have the answer for that? Who's going to have the answer for all these genetic diseases that could potentially pop up in the next 2 to 20 years?
I don't know. Who?
The pharmaceutical companies, the same ones that created the problem.
Who created it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So here's the thing. These things have been, these tactics, whether they are or not are coincidental, they've been going on for a long time. You create a product and then you create a problem that the product can serve.
That is
it's a wild business model.
Unbelievable.
And that's called profit first instead of patient first.
And you know what that will actually do? You never get an answer to the riddle. You never get the question solved because the question changes.
There's no money in the cure, Fulton.
That's right.
There's no money in it.
There is no money in the cure.
That's why they hate us.
Well,
because we're fixing people.
I'm going to tell you what, Dr. Scott, at Advanced Medical Solution, that's not the approach that you look at. That's not the approach that you train your team to work with the patients on. Once again, going to Advanced Medical Solution is about not taking prescriptions. Going to Advanced Medical Solution is about finding a, if not cure, a fix for your problem.
It's about not necessarily not taking medications. It's about not having to take more and more medications.
Okay.
Dangerous medications. Trying to stay away and prolong any surgical procedures.
Yes.
Because one surgery is going to lead to another. What it's about, it's not about not doing these other things. That's really not what it's about. What it's about is getting your life back. That's what it's about. Nobody wants the things that we do. Most of the people in that rehab center doing that rehab, they don't want to do rehab. Most people that have to spend anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 on regenerative medicine, they don't want that. What they want is they want the results. What's it going to give them? It's going to give them their life back. They're going to be able to play with their kids. They're going to be able to walk down the beach. They're going to get their life back. Sleep without pain.
Yes.
Wake up, move without suffering so much. That's what they want. They want their spouse back. They want to be able to go to the movies with their spouse. They want their life back. That's what they really want. And that's what they're spending their time and their energy and their money for.
Yeah, it's here's another way to look at it. When you first develop a disease, when you first develop an ailment, an injury, whatever it is, we go through the psychological phases. First thing is denial. No, I'm all right. It's going to heal. Then comes acceptance. Well, you know what? I think I have tweaked this. Well, as we continue to work through those phases, and that patient actually comes to Advanced Medical Solution and comes and sees you, Dr. Scott, on the very end of that is the positivity. It's like they didn't want to have to go through this experience, but once they accepted, they had to embrace it. Okay. Now they become winners. Now they become champions of their life, of their body, of their their attitude is unbelievable.
Fulton, I got a few patients. Not only is their attitude, they get right cocky.
Yes, they do.
They get right cocky.
They will.
Okay?
Quick.
We're dealing with a lot of people who are over, 55, 60,
Yes.
So they already got that,
They've had it before.
I'm gonna do my thing.
Yes.
I'm not changing. But when they're in pain, when people are in pain, it changes their personality. They change.
do.
They're
They
weak.
do.
They're
Yes.
tired. Their energy's gone.
Yep.
I had a lady say, I saw her this week. She said, "Hey, Dr. Scott," I was talking to another patient, had his cane with him doing some rehab. The lady said, "Hey, Dr. Scott, see that cane right there?" "Yeah." "I hadn't used my cane in 3 weeks." And she said it right cocky like, compared to the lady I had seen a month ago who
Yes.
was just miserable and suffering. So you're right. It changes people.
She was proud of it.
Oh, she was proud.
She was proud.
Yep.
Yes. Look at me. Look what I have accomplished. I have done it. I was in a bad state of mind. I was in a bad state of physical being, and I made the decision. I went to Advanced Medical Solution, and I made a change in my life. I'm proud of it, and I'm not afraid to tell you.
She loves it.
That's who it is.
Lies are infectious, and it puts people in fear. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. How we got to talking about that was probably COVID-19 issues, no issues, vaccines, no vaccines. What do you want to do? Do I take it? Do I not take it? I don't know. I don't know. Last thing I want to do is tell you, Fulton, not to take the vaccine, and I find you on a ventilator next week.
No doubt. But here's my question to you. Okay, where are the flu cases this year? Who's getting the flu vaccine?
I hadn't even heard about it.
We haven't heard about it. We haven't heard anything about the flu.
Rick heard something.
Well, I just checked. We were talking about it this morning. I just checked the CDC, and guess what? Only 0.3% have reported any flu at all. You know why? Because it's COVID. It's not the flu.
You know what I have to say to that?
What?
So the hemp laws for the legal amount of THC that can be in hemp is 0.03 as well. And guess what? There's no THC. There's not enough in it to make a difference. Okay, so that's where you're at on the flu. There's not enough of it to make a difference. There is no flu. Everything is being classified as COVID. And we both know what the reimbursement for COVID is versus everything else. The COVID reimbursement at the hospitals, at the doctor's offices, at the nursing home is through the roof. They get paid so much more for it. So that's why you're going to see so much more testing, is because the more people they can show test positive for COVID, the more they get to charge. Or let me say, it's not necessarily about how they charge. It's about how they bill. They bill to the federal government based off of coding, as we know this. And when you have the COVID diagnoses, it bills at a different level because there's more measurements that are supposed to be put in place for that COVID patient.
Well, also, nobody's really afraid of the flu anymore either.
No.
Nobody's afraid of the flu. I mean, to a certain degree, but it's just so natural and common as far as an infection. Nobody's afraid of it. But everybody's scared of COVID. Everybody's going to get a vaccine.
There you go.
Everybody's going to stay home. Everybody's going to be afraid. And I truly believe, that is parasitic, these bad ideas that are spreading, putting people in fear, shutting cities down, destroying businesses.
Completely.
I mean, we're talking about, I see it happen in people's lives all the time when someone has a problem. They'll get a recommendation, they'll get cortisone injections, and the next thing they'll do once that doesn't work is they're getting an MRI and then they're getting surgery. Okay? That can destroy an individual's life. It can destroy it, especially when they have to go through another surgery because it didn't work. Scar tissue starts building up. Doesn't work, another surgery, and then we have to come in and fix that.
Yes.
And help people like that. Yep. That's on an individual basis, okay? Where lies, unnecessary fear, drives decisions on people to do something that is really just driving a business that's profit.
It's
focused.
profit driven.
Now we're seeing the exact same thing. I mean, it's not new, but we're seeing it now across the country, across the world.
I can't even find the words to explain it. This great country of the United States is founded on a capitalistic theory. There's no question about it. But when greed outweighs the morale value of doing the right thing, these things become exposed. It's unemotional. It's unconnected. That's where you understand this as in what you do at Advanced Medical Solution and obviously being a doctor, that working with a patient is about establishing a rapport. You get to know that person. That person gets to know you. You get comfortable with discussing. Everybody who comes in and meets with you, Dr. Scott, they have to expose to you stuff they don't want to expose to everybody else. They confide in your trust to take their best interest at heart. I know you do that. They know you do that. The team knows you do that. But when we look at a model such as the pharmaceutical industry, people don't know each other. There's a gap with no bridge in between. And when you don't know that person, you don't have a problem gouging them because you're not seeing the effects that it's having on their life, on their livelihood, on their pocketbook.
Well, the whole system is set up that way. Oftentimes I hear many patients say, I go to this doctor or that doctor, but when I go back, he's not there. I have to see another one. I have to see another one. It's designed that way. You see, these corporations are designed that way. These are not individual doctors who own these offices and really care about their patients.
Anymore.
Not anymore. It's corporate driven.
Corporate.
They're all businessmen who don't go in there. They're driving these poor doctors and mid-levels and staff. They're driving them for hours of work, driving them for small bonuses and high quotas.
Yes.
And they're rotating them out. It's hard to get connected to a patient to a certain degree unless a patient demands it. Okay, I need to see this person every time. And then still their
There's
issues because there's no guarantee. They're driven by quota and they can only practice medicine within a certain box.
Exactly.
They can't recommend regenerative medicine like we have.
No.
We're a private entity.
Yes.
They're corporate owned. They have to do what the guys in the boardroom tell them they have to do. And they have to do so much of it or they're out and they're going to hire the next one.
And they choose what they do. Those doctors, that box they work in is determined by whether it has a profit margin or not.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if just think about this, you can go to a facility, and I'm going to call it acute. It could be a hospital where you're going to have a surgery. Now, Grand Strand's got quite a, they are in no way limited on their access, but I do know locally in some smaller areas where if you go to a hospital and you're going to have a procedure there, you're going to be forced into a specific type of procedure. The doctor does not have a choice because the hospital only has one piece of equipment. Okay.
That's right. That's like you can't go to the Honda dealership and get a Mercedes.
Exactly. So you've lost your ability for the patient choice. You have become, beholding to that facility where the service is being performed, And you've just got to hope that that doctor's good at what he does, and that the system is rewarding him well enough to put your interest at heart. That's a tough race to run.
Yeah, that's a lost cause. That's a lost cause unless you go into a private clinic like we have. It's just not happening.
No, and you know what? We're not attacking people. We're not accusing somebody of doing something that they're not supposed to do.
It's a system.
Not at all.
It's a system.
It is a system.
And it's driven by the same system that's driving these vaccinations, the same system that drove that is driving the opioid epidemic. It's a system of profit first, patient who? That's the system, and it's existed for over 100 years. It's still happening right now, and it's happening because these guys got all the money.
Yes.
It's a great business model, and it's driven by fear, and they're wiping away a lot of things, sweeping under the rug a lot of things that help a lot of people. I mean, this dives into the legislation and lobbyists. We're only allowed certain things. Most of the things that we're allowed are things that get lobbied and get paid for. And the big part of that is pharmaceuticals. Thank God we're actually able to do regenerative medicine now. It hasn't been long. Thank God we're able to do it. And it's helping people out tremendously. The alternative is bad.
I've got a funny point I want to point out to you real quick as we start to reach the end of this, because this has been a great conversation today. We've really talked about some good topics. But under President Trump, we saw the effort to get the vaccines out. Number one, they got it up and ready, and he did everything he could to get those vaccines out and get it distributed. All of a sudden, this new administration comes in, and you've got companies who've never participated before talking about, you can, raising their hand, you can use my location nationwide to distribute. We'll help you distribute it. You can do vaccines on site. And with this new administration having all these people trying to help them, we're still losing millions and millions of vaccines that can't be accounted for, that are untracked, that they don't, and we're talking in the number of 20 million, that they don't know where they are. So even with all this aid trying to help this new administration distribute this vaccine better, it's only gotten worse. It has only gotten worse. So the reason I point that out is you and I know this. The people out there listening to us, please understand. And Dr. Scott's going to agree with me. You have to take your own health care into your own hands.
That's right.
You have to own it.
You have to own it.
You have to own it.
Be proud of it. You can't wait on any administration to get you where you need to be.
You have to do it.
You know
yourself.
what we need to do during the COVID times?
Tell me.
The same thing we should do in not COVID times. The same thing.
Exactly.
You got to keep a strong immune system. You can't wait on anybody else to do it for you.
They're not going to.
They're not doing it.
They'll tell you they will, but they won't.
And here's the thing also, you can't be ignorant.
No.
You can't be ignorant. If all you're doing is getting your information from the television, is it worse than ever before? I don't know. I don't keep up with it. And I definitely don't. If I do watch something on TV, I just can't believe it now. Is it worse? I don't know. Not for me. Not, and that's all. That's unfortunately my family, not us, and our community. That's all I can. I can only do what I can do. But ultimately, you got to take care of yourself. And you can't be ignorant.
No.
You got to be somewhat learned. You got to know what's going on.
No. Ignorance is not an excuse in the court of law, and it's not an excuse in everyday life.
It's never going to work for you.
It's not.
You can't. I mean, if you have someone in your life or even a doctor saying, this is what's right and that is wrong, if you leave it at that, I mean, that's you. Whether it's right or wrong, you're going to have to pay the consequences. That's why I always recommend someone always getting a second opinion. And a second opinion, third opinion, you can't get. And here's the thing. The proof is in the pudding.
Yes, it is.
Okay? You can't be ignorant. You don't want somebody to just blindly guide you. Mm-hmm. The blind leading the blind. That happens in medicine every day. Every day.
All day.
All day, every day. And so really...
And that's why we are where we are.
That's
everybody out there listen to these doctors about, oh no, this medicine's not habit forming. This medicine's going to get rid of that pain. You don't have to worry about becoming addictive. And guess what? They did. They did need to.
That's right.
Okay. And that's the same person that those patients have to look to try to trust now to lead them again.
And remember, these doctors aren't doing anything intentionally wrong.
No,
they're doing what they're trained to do.
Yes,
and because they have a $250,000 education and a plaque on the wall, that's where they're held at a certain level by patients and should be.
Absolutely.
That they are the experts, that they can be trusted. But what you don't realize and what people don't realize until it's too late, I realized it when I was 16, these doctors don't know how to fix people. They're only prescribing drugs and giving and performing surgeries.
Treating symptoms.
One after the other, treating symptoms after. It's not their fault. It's because they are students of the pharmaceutical industry who run most of the medical schools.
That's exactly right. They
got a job and they got to put food on the table. And that's why, it's everybody's individual responsibility. You got to be learned. You got to know what's going on to a certain degree so that when you have different options and you're smart enough to look up different options, the truth will resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
We're about to wrap it up.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Remember, everybody, just remember, even more parasitic and disgusting and dangerous and destructive than bacteria and viruses is an idea, especially a bad idea, especially a false idea. And they're not going anywhere. It's going to happen. Question is whether you're going to fall prey to it. Rick,
yes,
thanks.
Sir.
Fulton, Jensen, good to see you today, my man. Fulton, as always, a pleasure.
Thank you, brother.
Everybody listening, thanks for being there. Remember, if you want to check us out on YouTube, Advanced Medical Solutions on YouTube,
yes,
or Dwyer Scott Podcast on YouTube, check it out, share it.
And the phone number,
843-742-7922. Give us a call if you are ready to take yourself to the next level and get out of pain, get your life back. Bye, everybody.